What's up, guys? Came out to a little spot for you today. Check it out. A little spot that I like to come to from time to time. Look at that view. Clouds look fucking cool, don't they? Look at that perfect amount of overcast where it's like a cool little contrast. That's amazing, man. What was that video a long time ago where the guy was just making like a sound at the rainbow? He was like, oh my God, it's a rainbow. It was a viral video for a while. But guys, what I want to talk to you about today, I want to share something with you. I was thinking really hard about like how I could deliver you guys the most value and what I could help you with today. What came to me was helping you guys find the path that God wants you to walk. Find your spiritual path. So how do you find your spiritual path in life? I mean, why should you find and walk the spiritual path in life? Like, why? And it's because everything that's magnificent in your life happens on the spiritual plane. Think about that. You know, if all the great things in your life, they came from stepping down this unknown path, this path where you didn't really have all the answers, you know, you just started to walk down it and amazing things happened on that path. So I wanted to talk to you guys about how to find your spiritual path in life, how to find the path that God wants to put you on. And I've been speaking more and more about God in my content lately. It just feels right. It feels like that's what I'm supposed to be talking about. It's been an area of my life that I neglected for a long time. If you don't like the word God, just replace it with universe. But I use the word God to describe the sum of all energy. Okay, so just like this ocean right here, right? There's a starting point for this ocean. Like every drop of water had a starting point. Maybe it came from the air, like it rained one day and it started filling up the ocean, right? Or maybe even a better example would be like this tree right here, right? This tree had a starting point. And before it was this big ass tree, it was like a little seed that was in the ground and it grew into that tree right there, but it had a starting point. So what do you guys call the starting point of all life? What do you call the starting point of humanity, of the world? And if everything is energy, what do you call the starting point of all energy? That's God, man. You know, and then the laws of the universe say that there's two sides to everything. There's a law of polarity, so there's a good and bad side to everything, right? So in life, there's going to be a good energy and bad energy, which is basically the devil. And the devil's like the bad energy. So anyways, I'm going to teach you guys like how to walk this path, the spiritual path, because like think about this in your life, right? You probably had some amazing things happen when you trusted your intuition. You had some amazing things happen when you said, man, remember that time when you were like, you wanted something and you were kind of scared to go for it, but then you decided to go for it, and then it became something incredible. Like for me, that was the Ranger Regiment. That was one thing. I'm gonna take you guys over to this little spot over here. Check this out. It's a little shack over here. But the spiritual plane, if you guys are unaware, you know, humans, we all operate on 3 planes, okay? So somebody could type this in the comments down below so that it could save people some time. But the 3 planes of existence are the mental plane, the physical plane, and your spiritual plane. So the mental plane is basically your mental workshop. It's like where you think, right? Okay, check this out. This is pretty cool. I don't know if I'm supposed to go over here. This is like, it might be private property. But the mental plane is where you think. It's where you think about things. Your imagination is there, right? Like if you want to change your life, the first thing you start thinking about is what that could look like. Man, it's a brand new dock down here. It's so cool. Look at this. So you live in the mental plane. When you think about the life you could have, maybe in Florida, maybe in the military, you go into that mental workshop. Then you have the physical plane, like you have this dock that I'm standing on. This is the physical world. But then you also have the spiritual plane, and that's where like you really feel you feel gravitated and you feel this connection without being able to see or visualize what it is. So like you might feel an attraction towards somebody, and that could be almost a spiritual plane, right? It's this feeling of compulsion. Or maybe when you're going through a really hard time, you start talking to something. You don't know what the hell you're talking to, but you feel connected emotionally to something greater than yourself. That's the spiritual plane. So when you walk this path, the thing is in life, a lot of times people try to use the mental and physical planes all the time. They rely on their mental and physical planes, and they say, listen, I'm only going to do something if I can, if it makes sense to me. I'm only going to change my life if it makes sense to me. I'm only going to change my life if I can, maybe you want to move to a different state. And you're like, oh, I'm only going to move if I can physically see the place that I'm going to live. You don't just trust yourself to go for it. Well, in the spiritual plane, you just trust. You have faith. So that's the key to finding your spiritual faith or spiritual plane. Existing on the spiritual plane is to walk by faith. Now, this is like a broad concept to walk by faith, right? But you can walk by faith every day in little tiny small steps, which is what I'm actually doing right here in front of you guys right now. Imagine living your day walking by faith in the smallest little steps, trusting your intuition to take you to the next step and the next step and the next step. And basically what ends up happening when you do this is you live a lot in the unknown. So maybe you had an agenda today, right? And maybe it's like the weekend, and normally the weekend you do the same routine. And instead you're like, you know what, I don't feel like I should do this. I'm going to trust my intuition. I'm going to walk where my intuition tells me to go. And it takes you to a new gym. It takes you to an outdoor, maybe to a park. But you follow your intuition just to the most random places. For a lot of you guys that don't know, my oldest brother was unfortunately born with Down syndrome. And one of the things that I used to do when I was driving him around is I would let him give me directions to different places, right? Well, I would pick him up from school. I'd either pick him up from Reading, or most of the time it was in Reading. So he lived in Reading at this time. Sorry, it wasn't school. So he lived in Reading, California, and there was times where I would go home and I would go up to Reading and then take him to my mom's place. But before I got to my mom's place, I would tell him to give me directions home. And he doesn't know, obviously, he doesn't know how to use GPS or anything like that. And point is that I would just trust him to point out where to turn. And sometimes we would go on some crazy adventures, man. My brother Josh, he would just take us down the craziest roads. But if I followed him long enough, I listened to his direction long enough, eventually we would find our way to the road that took us to our mom's house, which might be 90 minutes later when it only should have taken us about 10 or 15. But he would just take us down these like intuitive paths, and there were some of the coolest moments. And it's a memory that's burned in my mind. So when you guys walk this path, a lot of what you're missing in life is this emptiness that you feel. If you have an emptiness and you feel empty in your life, it's probably because you're not walking the spiritual path. You're not walking this path that God has meant for you. He wants you to do something great with your life. Like God, He really does. But you have to trust in Him. You have to trust in your faith, your intuition to take those steps. When I first decided to become a ranger, there's a lot of people that, judge me for it. There's a lot of people that talk shit about it because I was coming from an area where doing something, getting into special operations was like joining and being in the NFL. People were like, oh my gosh, like you're going to be too good for us, or is it not good enough where you're at? Or like they just like started talking shit about me wanting to pursue it. I mean, one person was even like, hey, what if you get there and what you're looking for doesn't exist? Like people just breathe this doubt into you whenever you have this dream, and it's because they have a lot of doubt. It's no knock on them. It's just they have a lot of doubt. But my faith was strong, my intuition was strong, and I said, you know what? The time is going to pass anyway. The time in life, a year from now is going to happen if you make it. 10 years from now is going to happen if you make it. The time is going to pass in life. So why not listen to that little calling inside of your soul that's telling you, go, 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 go for the thing, go do it. As long as it's ethical, moral, and it's in the service of others, you're going to win. Like there's no real path where like you're going to follow your intuition, you're going to follow that spiritual guidance that you're getting, where you're going to end up in a bad place because you're doing it with good intention. So the key though is how do you tap into that spiritual place? How do you tap into that spiritual existence? Well, I'll tell you this. never going to hear the spiritual guidance if your vision is cloudy, if you have fucking headphones on, if you have ear protection on. Like, if you can't fucking hear, you're not going to hear the voice that's coming to you. The things that cloud your guys' voice, that make it so you cannot hear this, it's like a radio station. There's a frequency that you can tap into, but the problem is that frequency is trying to come in, but you guys are like listening to a bunch of bullshit. Like, you're listening to, like, you got your own music up so loud you can't hear the voice that's coming in. So that distraction that's causing you not to hear the spiritual path is stuff like you're drinking, overindulgence, oversleeping. It's like it's not being disciplined. It's being gluttonous. It's the constant bombardment of distractions that you give yourself. Like, anytime you distract yourself or escape, you're blocking out the voice that is trying to guide you towards what you're supposed to be doing. So when you guys want to walk the spiritual path, one, you have to make a decision that you're going to walk it. Number two, you have to cut away the distractions. That means following the blueprint that I give here in the channel, the discipline advantage. That means you cut the fucking vices, you wake up at a respectable time, you follow a macronutrient diet, you get your workout in, you journal, and you read. You do those things, and eventually what ends up happening, on day one, for some of you guys, you're gonna get guidance on that very first fucking day. The first day that you lock in those habits that I outlined, you're gonna feel so good. The first day that you get your macros on point, the first day you drop that vice, the first day that you freaking wake up early, the first day you do the journaling, the first day that you do the reading, you're gonna feel so fucking good that you're never gonna wanna go back, but a lot of you guys are gonna go back. Okay, so you gotta keep working at it. You gotta keep stripping away the things that are getting in the way of that spiritual guidance, that spiritual voice that's coming through and telling you where to go. And only then will you have the confidence to take that next step that God is telling you to take. Because if you don't listen to you, and you can't cut the vices, you can't wake up on time, you can't do the journaling, the reading, you can't discipline yourself for these basic, simple tasks, you're not going to trust yourself to walk down a path of faith. How the fuck is that supposed to work? These are simple tasks that you know you need to do. The spiritual path is the path of the unknown. How are you going to have the confidence to walk the spiritual path of the unknown if you don't have the confidence to see through on these small fucking habits that I'm trying to teach you guys? This is how I changed my life, guys. I'm teaching you guys the things that worked for me. Nobody told me to teach this shit to you guys. I had a mentor one time. He said, just teach them what worked for you. And so I laid it all out. I'm giving it all to you guys. You guys want to, anything that you're trying to chase, any result that you're trying to chase, it starts with this process that I'm giving you here to build the best you. Follow the discipline advantage. Get yourself right. Build up that confidence, because confidence is a result. Confidence is not earned. Confidence comes from confidence is not given, it's earned. Confidence comes as a result of putting in the work. You don't just get gifted confidence. You have to earn it through overcoming the daily challenges that you give yourself. Remember what I just said. Confidence is a result. Guys, I love you all, and I'm getting a little longer on these videos, but I know this one was good, and I want you guys to walk that spiritual path. And if and when you do, make sure you come back to these videos and let me know how it went. If you guys like the video, you like the background, let me know in the comments down below. See you guys in the next one. Conquer all.